So I don't know how familiar this audience is with the Hyundai Motor Company story, and I'm actually not the best person to tell it. I think Jose is a better storyteller on that front. But I do know that if you are fact-based, like we are at Semafor, and you're focused on not spinning things, but looking at actually the truth, the results of this company of the last 10 years have been unbelievable. They've grown from being, I think, I can't know, it was 8th or 9th largest automotive company in the world to the 3rd. And the innovation and the speed of innovation has been remarkable. And behind that has been the leadership team I introduced, but also at the helm is Jose Munoz. So we're really, really thrilled to talk to him about this incredible journey that you've been on. Maybe before we start, we could talk about this trajectory of the transformation of Hyundai to becoming an EV leader, an innovation leader, moving very, very rapidly, but also very, very strategically.
Well, Jason and Justin, sorry, thank you for having me. And then it's a real pleasure to be here. But I think you're asking me, I think we should ask our executive chair and then our vice chair, but because they are really the ones who made the difference. But I'll say, for me, the journey has been really unbelievable. It's been now 6 years working for Hyundai. And then for those who don't know, the group is really very large with a lot of activities. And then the ones that are known the most are the automotive. And then we run 3 brands under 2 different entities. So the Hyundai brand and the Genesis brand, which is the premium brand within the group, and then the Kia one, 2 different companies. But a lot of things that most of the customers don't know is that we are in many other businesses which are related directly or indirectly to create the vertical integration, which I think gives the group a competitive advantage, including logistics with Lovis, including Boston Dynamics robotics, including some activities in AI, also with Boston Dynamics, including mobility with Emotional, which is based out of Boston, including Supernal, which is eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing. Just to mention some, because we're also in construction of multiple things, including nuclear power plants and then engineering. So we also have affiliated companies and group companies in marketing, in ocean and others. So it's really huge. I know the numbers are not perfect, but just to give some sense, it is about $330+ billion of revenues in the group on a yearly basis. And then even though we are number 3 global OEM, I think revenues are really of the group even larger than the number 1 in sales, which is Toyota, right?
And in particular, your U.S. sales have been quite strong.
Well, U.S. has become now the most important market for us. It represents about 1/3 of the sales, and is the one driving good results. So actually, earlier today at 1 a.m., we published the Q1 results, and there were a couple of things to highlight. I think it was quite solid results, driven by North America, by hybrids, and also by the Forex. So US is by far right now the most important. Yeah.
And you see the US being one of the most important markets going forward as well?
Well, it's a good question to make. I think, yes, the simple answer is yes. When we make decisions to invest, and then recently our executive chair, Mr. Chung, made a presentation, an announcement before President Trump at the White House, announcing $21 billion of investment over the next 4 years. Obviously, when you make such a big announcement, you are not thinking on incentives or you are not thinking on tariffs. You're thinking more in the fundamentals. In our business, the investments are huge in the billions of dollars, and then they last for many years, 20+ years. In fact, next year, we will celebrate our 40th anniversary in the country. And next month, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of our first plant in Montgomery, Alabama. So basically, really the most important, and hopefully we'll be able to navigate the current tariff situation and will maintain a strong performance, and we'll be able to get a good return of our investments here.
So recently you announced, I think in the White House, there was an announcement of a $21 billion investment into the United States. And so what is the company's outlook on your manufacturing footprint and managing your supply chain, and obviously sort of in the context of all that's going on right now?
Well, it's interesting because it all started during the first Trump administration. And at that time, we made an analysis of the potential in the market and then the level of localization, the dependency that we had from imports from Korea. And we decided to announce so far the largest investment in Georgia. So we announced a $12.6 billion investment in Savannah, Georgia, with an assembly plant that was at the time supposed to produce EVs for 300,000 units, plus a battery plant also in Savannah, another battery plant in Bartow, also in Georgia, plus other investments of the different companies in the group, like Globis, Mobis, Transys, and then steel and material, etc. And then it was very interesting that the very same day the president announced the tariffs, we were celebrating the grand opening of the plant in Savannah. I think it was on the 25th or 26th of March. And then we were also thinking that because of the good trend the company was having in America, that probably we were going to increase the capacity of the plant to up to 500,000. I think this announcement couldn't have arrived at a better moment, because the best way to address the tariffs is to localize your investments and to produce in America.
So in some sense, the policy shifts made you think of accelerating your investments on some level?
Well, I think that's the best and fastest solution. So in fact, we utilize a word which I'm very proud of in Korea, which we call the pali pali.
Yes, can you explain pali pali?
Pali pali means to be very reactive, very fast. And I think it's part of our DNA, it's part of the culture of the company. And then it is something that we try to combine with other elements.
I think in Silicon Valley, they call it speed. I mean, it's some form of just incredible focus on the speed of execution. So
well,
was that pali pali?
On steroids.
And on steroids, okay.
It's much more than that.
It's not strong enough for the word. It's pali pali.
And then it also combined with the spirit of the company and part of our DNA to try to take any challenge as an opportunity, right? So we were not the top players in the market. Now we're the second one selling EVs in America. And then you have to take every opportunity, every change is an opportunity for you to step up and do better, attract the consumers, and then be more competitive and improve your fundamentals. And that's the angle that we're utilizing in this new environment. This is the same as we did during COVID. In COVID, if you remember, our factories were the ones operating the most. It gave us a competitive advantage, which allowed us to increase share. And then we also made a lot of decisions, which were like selling through the dealers instead of selling to the rental companies at the time, which were more profitable at the time. But now, after the COVID crisis, we ended up having a stronger performance, and we never lost the number 3 position globally, which some people thought, okay, after COVID, we're going to lose it. Well, we didn't, and in fact, we're gaining some ground.
So it's fascinating that, and I wonder whether this is a Hyundai specific thing or an international thing, that here you have this one of the biggest crises in public policy related crises for business, and most people just send their lobbyists to Washington and start knocking on doors, and you're instead saying, what is the way that we can adapt and transform and change our company?
Well, we also have lobbyists and a lot of people doing the best. But the point is that we are not going to go and wait and see what's happening. I think one of the things we've learned in managing a crisis and in this particular situation is that we need to really pay attention to the operation. I always say that April is the most important month of our lives, right? Until May. until June, absolutely. So, and then in crisis, I remember when the tariffs were announced, everybody was asking, so what is going to happen? What is going to happen? People are uncertain. So we decided to announce what we call the Hyundai Assurance to guarantee our customers that we are going to maintain our MSRP prices, so we are not going to challenge them. And the result of that was the best March ever, the best Q1 ever. So we gave confidence to the consumer. So in times of difficulty, I think focusing on what the customers want and also managing and focusing the cash is very important. We learned that again during COVID. There was a time that what happened with a lot of manufacturers, the dealers were not ordering cars. When you don't order cars, you don't get paid, then you run out of cash. So what do you do instead? So you try to foment the demand, the end demand, the dealer demand, and then you continue to cash your business, and you are in business when the others are not, then it gives you a competitive advantage. That's the same approach that we've taken now.
Fascinating. So there, as you know, there's been some skepticism about the ongoing demand for electric vehicles, but it does seem that Hyundai, amongst, compared to some others, is actually defying that, and your market is still very strong. What's your outlook for the EV market?
So it's very, very interesting question. So if you asked me the same question maybe 3 or 4 years ago, then we would have seen the future just being electric 50 to 60% minimum, if not more. Then over time, we've clearly seen that the demand is maybe not as high as everybody expected, but we still believe the future is going to be electric, except that it's going to take a little bit longer. And then why is that? But simply, it depends on how many models you launch in the market and basically the infrastructure and how much support you get by the different governments, etc. But if you look at what is happening outside, so you go, for example, to China, it's about 50% plus of the sales are EV. You go to Europe, and it's north of 20 to 25%. And here we are now stable at 8 point something. But I believe that this is going to continue to grow. For us, it's been the largest source of growth until recently, and recently it's been the hybrids. So hybrids in the quarter grew for us about 60% because a lot of consumers are thinking that they're making the best out of the two worlds. But over time, I think it's a simpler technology. The driving dynamics are better because the center of gravity is lower. The power that you get with an electric vehicle is fantastic. So the moment new technologies like the solid state, etc., come to fruition, I think we're going to see another steep growth in EVs. And we are thinking US, if you go to Europe, we are having a fantastic result thanks to Inster, which is an electric vehicle, which just was awarded the electric vehicle of the year. So in fact, last week in the New York International Auto Show. So it's been the 4th year in a row that our company has won the car of the year, the electric car of the year, the design car of the year, etc. So I think in the future we'll see much more. And then, I can wait to launch more electric vehicles. We just launched brand new Ioniq 9 is the first large SUV. That is a family vehicle that is made out of our new plant in Savannah, Georgia.
Fantastic. So I know the automotive business is a little bit like the news business. Everyone reads the news and everyone has a car. So people sort of have a personal relationship with it. I think Hyundai, just in October, the last important month, marked the 100 millionth vehicle produced by Hyundai. Share with all these car owners or car leasers, what will the 200 millionth car sold by Hyundai look like?
You mean by when? So I think it's going to take.
Maybe not by when, but maybe what will the vehicles look like? What's this vision of the future in 100 million vehicles later?
Well, I think in the future we're going to see vehicles that they're going to be autonomous. Some call it robotaxis, but I think those vehicles are going to be also available to any consumer. So as a consumer, you will be able to buy very soon a vehicle which is autonomous, and then if you want, you drive it, and otherwise you just let the vehicle to drive you. I think we're going to see what we call today eVTOLs. So one of the things our company is doing is to develop these aircrafts, which are powered by batteries, and they're going to be in operation by 2028, 2029. And then you will have a vehicle that is able to take you, for example, from Orange County to LAX, which is an impossible drive at any rush hour. You could do it in 10, 15 minutes, and I think people are going to get very used to it. So we'll see in the future more electric vehicles. I think we're going to see also hydrogen power vehicles, fuel cell EVs. That is one of the technologies that we are already operating in the United States. In fact, our new plant in Savannah is driven by the logistics of Glovis, which is our group company as well, with fuel cell EV heavy-duty trucks, right? So it's everything environmentally friendly. We produce the hydrogen there, we charge the trucks there, we utilize them for transportation. I think that's what we're going to see, EVs, fuel cell EVs, and eVTOLs.
So we're out of time, sadly, but fascinating conversation. One last question. As a Spaniard working with a Korean company, in this moment of time, what's your advice to American CEOs facing?
Well, I will give my half other nationality. I'm also a U.S. citizen. I would say you need to be paying a lot of attention to everything that is happening. I don't think you can say you have just one strategy just for the next 20 years. You need to be agile and nimble and flexible. And I think flexibility is one of the competitive advantages that our company has, the concept of pali-pali. But I would say you need to have also a lot of scenario planning and a good baseline. I call this midi-midi. So you need to plan ahead, plan many scenarios, and be ready to move from one to the other. It's funny because if you told me what was the key success factor during COVID, so it was the fact that we were doing things that in the past we would do once a month, we would do them every day. So how many chips you receive? Okay, this is what we receive. These are the cars that we can produce rather than these other cars, rather than having the plant idling. So flexibility, being agile, having a good baseline. And then I said to all our employees, the H from Hyundai also means to be humble, to be hungry, and to be the hardest working in the room, and then no failure.
The triple H. Okay. Exactly. On that note, thank you, Jose Munoz.
Thank you.